So, the Chiefs got 2 players back last week, and one of them is already making a bigger impact than expected on the pass rush. That's huge for the defense, and it's only going to get better in the weeks ahead. Plus, another key piece is trending towards returning, which could give the offense a big lift. Basically, the Chiefs are heating up at just the right time, as they gear up for the final stretch of the season. Let's break it all down. Alright, first up, the Chiefs made a couple of roster moves. Andy Reid confirmed during his press conference that kicker Spencer Schrader is being placed on injured reserve. He reportedly tweaked his hamstring during a warm-up or workout. At the same time, they're promoting Matthew Wright from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. And credit where it's due, Wright had a solid outing last week in the Chiefs' narrow win over the Raiders. Although he missed 59-yarder against the Raiders, yeah, it came up just short, but honestly, I'm not going to hold that against him. His career long is also a 59-yarder, which he made when filling in for Butker back in 2022. He's proven he can be clutch on field goals, but my concern with Wright is his leg strength, particularly on kickoffs. Here's why. During the game against the Raiders, his kickoffs didn't have the power to consistently force touchbacks. That allowed Amir Abdullah to break off a 68-yard return, putting Vegas in prime field position. Situations like that can really shift momentum, and that's something the Chiefs need to be cautious about. Unfortunately, there's not much the Chiefs can do right now with Schrader on IR for at least the next 4 weeks. And honestly, no disrespect to Schrader, but I hope we don't have to rely on him again this season. Why? Because Harrison Butker's potential return changes everything. After this upcoming game against the Chargers, the Chiefs could activate his 21-day window to return from IR. The big question is whether they'll open it up next week or wait a little longer. Andy Reid gave an encouraging update, saying Butker is progressing well and could potentially return soon. Specifically, Reid said, potentially, yes, when asked if Butker was on target to return around the 4-week mark after his knee surgery. Reid added, he's doing good. We'll just see how it goes here in the next week or two. So, fingers crossed, Chiefs fans. It looks like we might get Butker back when it matters most. If his return window does open next week, the Chiefs could still decide to hold him out for a couple more games. But realistically, we might see him back around Christmas, which would be perfect timing. That's around the same time Hollywood Brown is expected to return as well. Ian Rappaport reported Hollywood has an upcoming appointment with his surgeon for clearance, and he could be back around week 16 or week 17. Now, that's great news, and it'll be much needed. But here's the thing. It won't mean much if Patrick Mahomes doesn't have protection. No quarterback can work their magic without time to throw. That's why all eyes are on the Chiefs' newly signed left tackle, DJ Humphries. The big question is whether Humphries will suit up this week. Both Andy Reid and Mahomes addressed in press conference, and it sounds like he's trending towards starting on Sunday if practice goes well. That's a huge development. Now, before we dive into how this impacts the offense, let's talk about what this means for the team as a whole. With key players returning and the potential addition of Humphries, it feels like the Chiefs are making the right moves at the right time. Protecting Mahomes is non-negotiable. If he doesn't have the time to execute plays, even his brilliance won't be enough to carry this team deep into the playoffs. Humphries took snaps last week, and they're ramping things up for him in practice this week. How he handles this increased workload will determine if he's ready to play on Sunday. If he's not, Andy Reid mentioned a couple of backup plans. One option is Wanya Morris, who's still available as another fallback option. Look, it's no secret he's had his struggles this season. You can see it when you watch the games, and the numbers back it up. He's in a rough spot on the graph when left on an island. That's exactly why having Humphries, even if he plays at just an average or slightly above average level, would be a massive upgrade for this offense. On the other hand, Jawaan Taylor has been interesting to watch. Statistically, he's not playing bad football. He's graded fairly well alongside players like Joe Alt. The issue with Taylor isn't necessarily his overall performance, but his penalties. He's been flagged the 3rd most among tackles in the NFL, and it's mostly due to pre-snap penalties like lining up too deep and false starts. This all ties back to why the Chiefs are so eager to see if Humphries is ready to step in. If he can hold his own on the left side, it could stabilize the entire offensive line, giving Mahomes the protection he needs and allowing the offense to operate at a much higher level. It's not just about one player, it's about the ripple effect across the entire line. The real issue is the blind side. Mahomes doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, so the quality of protection on his blind side is by far the most critical problem to address right now for the offense. That said, his frustration was pretty evident last game. We all saw him slam the ball on the ground after taking another sack in the red zone late in Friday's game. According to Mahomes, though, his frustration wasn't entirely about the sack itself. It was more about the team's lack of execution in the red zone, going just 1 for 5 on the day. He mentioned that he felt there were open receivers on that play and that it was a pivotal moment in the game. So, when they failed to capitalize, it hit hard. Fixing the left tackle situation and improving overall protection has to be the priority moving forward. If they can clean that up, it's going to make a world of difference not just for Mahomes, but for the entire offense. Mahomes himself said he's been impressed by Humphries during his short time with the team. He even mentioned that he hopes DJ is ready to play as soon as possible. When you pair that with Andy Reid's comments during his presser, it's easy to see why people like Pete Sweeney of Arrowhead Pride are confident that Humphries will start Sunday night against the Chargers, barring any setbacks, of course. Remember, Humphries said in his introductory presser just a couple of weeks ago that he's ready to play whenever the coaching staff gives him the green light. So, coaching staff, here's the plea. Let him play. Now, let's talk about Isaiah Pacheco. His explosive 34-yard run up the left sideline was the longest of the season for the Chiefs, and it's a reminder of how dynamic he can be when he's healthy. Andy Reid mentioned they planned to give him around 20 plays in his first game back, and he came through without any setbacks. That's a huge win. With Pacheco feeling good and healthy, it's safe to assume his workload will only increase in the coming weeks. Last week, he and Kareem Hunt split carries evenly with 7 apiece. But as Pacheco continues to get back into the groove, we could see him out-carry Hunt as early as this Sunday against the Chargers. It's hard to predict exactly how it will shake out, but either way, having both backs in the mix is a great problem to have. Meanwhile, the return of Charles Omenihu is a game-changer for the defense. He looked solid in his season debut and had no trouble at practice or over the weekend. With his ability to pressure quarterbacks and disrupt plays, Omenihu adds a significant boost to the pass rush, something that could make a big difference against a team like the Chargers. Having Omenihu back helps in more ways than one. First, it takes some of the burden off Chris Jones, who's playing a career-high number of snaps this season. And let's not forget, Jones has been absolutely dominant, playing at an elite level. But even the best need help, and Omenihu's presence allows Jones to stay fresher and more effective. It's these kinds of returns that are making the Chiefs look scary as they head into the postseason. While they're playing the long game and keeping the playoffs in mind, every game matters as they chase the number one seed. And let's not forget, a win over the Chargers this Sunday would officially lock up the AFC West for the 9th straight season. That's dominance. But let's not sugarcoat it. This upcoming game against Justin Herbert and the Chargers is no walk in the park. Herbert is a much better quarterback than the guys the Chiefs have faced in recent weeks, so the defense will need to step up big time. That's why Omenihu's performance is so encouraging. A stronger pass rush could give the secondary the edge they need to turn close coverage into turnovers, and hopefully that confidence will translate into big plays. Now, looking ahead to Sunday, I'm optimistic, but cautiously so. While the Chiefs are trending in the right direction, these close games have been a pattern, even against lesser quarterbacks. Facing a talent like Herbert will be a real test. What about you? Are you feeling confident the Chiefs can lock this one up, or are you still a little on edge given how close things have been lately? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those Chiefs?